Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Financial Advisors Workshop, a four-star podcast and video operation. And we have a very special guest with us from Austin, Texas, the capital. It's Jeff Kikel, and he runs BKA Associates, which is really interesting. It's BKA.
Yeah, so it's Boyce, Kikel, and Associates.
Boyce, Kikel and Associates. There we go. BKA Wealth Advisories, and basically they have some really interesting approaches in how to do what we consider to be traditional financial advisory. So, Jeff, welcome to the podcast, and welcome to the Financial Advisors Workshop.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you. I'm glad to be on here today.
Yeah. So, well, great. So we had a little pre-discussion, and we talked about your growth and development and how you got into the industry and what led you to where you are right now. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? You got in the business, I think you started at Fidelity, didn't you?
Yeah, started at Fidelity in 1995. Various jobs throughout that time period. I mean, the thing I always loved with Fidelity is every 2 years, if you weren't changing jobs within the company, people would look at you a little funny. They really valued you getting a very broad education in the industry. So it gave me the opportunity to do everything from working with individuals to high net worth individuals to business owners, and then eventually to the institutional side of the business, working with 401ks, 403bs, and working directly with the plan sponsors in those cases.
Nice. Yeah, because everything comes into Fidelity, right? So you saw saw everything. Right.
Yeah. And it was, like I said, I was based out of Dallas. So basically all the operations were in Dallas. It was really easy to kind of move between parts of the company. And like I said, you were valued for your vast knowledge of information there.
Yeah.
So it worked really well for me because I realized later that I was basically an entrepreneur inside the company. So I was always kind of being put onto different projects in different areas. And, I was the guy that they dropped in, and I guess it comes from my background as a paratrooper. You drop me in someplace and I just figure it out and get out of there. So,
how long were you a paratrooper? How many years?
5 years. I was an Army Ranger for 5 years. Spent most of that time overseas, down in Central and South America, and finished my career up in the desert. Saddam Hussein decided I needed an extra year of training, and I spent a year in the desert protecting Saudi Arabia and trying to get back Kuwait.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service. That's quite a
thank you.
We're seeing it now as Putin bombs Ukraine.
It's just insane. He is a crazy little booger, is all I can say.
Crazy. But anyway, well, thanks again for your service. So
thank you.
So then after your Fidelity tenure, 9 years ago, you went independent, right?
Yeah, about 9 years ago. I actually moved to Austin to go to work for Charles Schwab, and came down here, worked it's kind of a weird, I managed an entire branch that focused on the 401k side of the business and helping people transition from 401ks to the retail side. Did that for a couple of years, and then I finally realized that I did not want to work for a public company ever again, and decided to go out on my own as an independent. And it was that time in my life that if I didn't do it at that point, I would never be able to build a practice big enough to justify me taking a huge, drop in pay to get started. And, it was probably the craziest thing I've ever done, because I decided to go independent in a town. I didn't have a book of business. I went to, independent in a town that I did not know a soul besides people in the financial services industry. So that was no help to me. And it was just hustle and get out there and build a practice. And, I looked over it, and 10 years later, we're very successful, and we've grown a pretty good practice. My partner and I, merged a couple of years ago.
Nice. You mentioned that. Yeah. So about 5 years ago, yep. You hooked up with your partner and you formed the new firm. Mm-hmm. And so how did that go, and how did that work out?
Well, that was, so Eric and I met probably about 10 years ago when I went independent, and we just, instantly kind of hit it off. You just have those people in your life that you hit it off. And he and I, we come from diverse backgrounds. He comes from the analysis and the portfolio management side. and I come from more of the wealth management and financial planning side. And so
Right.
for us, it was always kind of words and music, and we just tried to dance around for several years. The firms that we worked with, we really couldn't figure out a way to work together. And finally, we were having our monthly adult beverage and sitting there one day, and I was frustrated where I was working, and he was pretty much frustrated where he was working at the time. And we just said, you know what, why don't we just go out on our own and start a firm and go from there? And of course, you have that option of, okay, well, we can go to an LPL or some other broker dealer or something like
Sure.
that. And we realized that from the very, very beginning, we were going to be different. We were going to have a different way of doing it. And so we kind of went the opposite track. We basically went direct to the state, formed an RIA, had no infrastructure and background. We hired a compliance consulting firm, and we just started building from there.
Right. Fascinating. And as we kind of walk through how your firm is organized, you added some really interesting business consulting pieces to it, which is a twist I've not heard. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, so, when we were sitting down, what you have to do, I think, as a business owner, and I've had to do this with all the businesses I own, you really have to figure out what your niche is, what you do best. And for both of us, our favorite clients that we worked with were business owners. And the challenge that you run into with business owners most often is, well, they don't have a whole lot of money, or they might be successful, but they don't have a whole lot of money because it's all tied up in their business. So the traditional wealth management route is, well, let me take you to lunch and play golf with you for about 5 years, and then you sell your business, and now we can actually do business.
Right.
And we saw too many people that got to the end and realized, oh crap, I took this deal and that was not enough money for me to actually live on for the rest of my life. Or I'm highly unsatisfied because I was used to being the master of my own world, and now I'm either working for my old company that somebody else owns, or I don't have anything to do. And so we decided that we were going to found a firm that served that audience. And we wanted to move earlier on into that cycle, because we figured if we could get to them 10 years or so earlier and help them figure out what it would take to get to that end and what they needed, we'd be able to help them more. And the only way to do that was to create a business consulting sleeve in that interim part. And so our original approach was a concept that we call BizView, which was basically, we brought together about 8 different professionals. We would come in, we would sit down, they would pay us just kind of a flat fee of about $15,000. We would come in, we would analyze all aspects of their business, and we had sales experts and operations consultants and HR people, plus us. We would do business valuation and financial plans and all this. Well, the problem is it got so complicated and there were so many moving parts that it didn't really work. But what we found out of this was we would get asked, and we got a lot of bankers that would refer business to us. They would ask, well, hey, can you just do that business valuation piece?
Yeah.
Because people need to know where they're at today. And can you help them kind of figure out what they're going to need in the end? And so we collapsed BizView into a much simpler process of an analysis tool that we subscribe to called Exit Plan or Exit Map. And we do business valuation. So we'll figure out where they're at. We help them figure out where the problems are in their business. And then we still have that kind of detached group of people that we work with that we can kind of fill in as a prescription and help them get there. And then we do what we do best, which is we can figure out what the value of your business is. We can do a plan for you to figure out where you need to be. And then let us kind of work on the outside of what those professionals are doing inside with you. And that, having them on the inside, they're helping you grow. They're providing accountability for you. We're helping you to structure that eventual deal using executive compensation. So if you want to sell your business to one of your kids or to one of your key employees, well, most of the time those people don't have money, but there's some kind of proprietary strategies we use to help the business owner kind of structure that exit for themselves and put the right people in place. And the earlier we could do that, the more chance that that's going to be a successful out.
So what in the notes you introduced the concept of a Freedom Day, and I know that's all part of your business consulting. Tell me about Freedom Day.
Yeah. So Freedom Day, actually, it's, it really came out of the wealth management side of our business. Me having, 28 years in the business, I've been doing retirement income planning for that whole time period. And I just started to see, I guess it was probably about 4 to 5 years ago, that people just, for some reason, that whole concept of retirement just didn't jazz with people anymore. The younger people would sit there and say, well, okay, that's years down the road and I'll probably be dead by then and I don't need to plan now. I'll do that later. Right. And, when they should be doing it. And the older people that didn't plan, they were just like, I'll never make it. So I'll just be working for the rest of my life. And everybody had that kind of time-bound approach. And I even see this with business owners. There's this kind of time-bound approach of, okay, I'll retire when I turn 66 and, I'm going to hang out and whittle wood on the front porch or whatever it is.
Right.
But, I started talking to people about their Freedom Day. And, what Freedom Day is just simply, that is the first day of your life that you woke up and you have enough income or assets that you didn't have to actually get up and go to work that day. And that could be that I'm in a job that I absolutely despise. I was that way. Or you can be a business owner and you're just frustrated because you're just beating your head against the wall every day and you don't see an exit. So I started talking about Freedom Day and I said, Freedom Day can be tomorrow for some people that, maybe they've started a little side gig and they're making enough money that they really could quit their job. It could be tomorrow. It could be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. But my goal is to try and get people within a 10-year period of time to be able to find their Freedom Day, get out. I'm a big advocate of people starting a little side gig, find something that you love and then figure out a way to make money doing that. And, for me, that was, I was working, the last firm I worked with was an RIA firm and it was a dysfunctional family and I just couldn't wait to get out. And for me, I tried to get out many times. I tried to start businesses, but I wasn't serious about it until I finally just said, okay, I'm done and I'm going to figure out how to do this. Okay. I'll go out and start my own business and I'll quit my job and be done. And March 1st of 2016 was my first Freedom Day. Nice.
So I guess that's a thought. I mean, there's the old adage, Jeff, that retirement is really 6 feet under, right?
Yeah.
So people don't really retire. You may leave your job, you may do something different, but I don't know too many retirees that are sitting there on a chaise lounge and watching TV. I mean, they're doing stuff. They're busy. Yeah. So
and hopefully they've got the money for it. The challenge that I see a lot of times though is you got the people that, okay. I just heard this from one of the ladies that works in the co-working space I own. She's like, yeah, I got rid of my BMW, because I'm going to be retiring in about 8 years. So I got rid of my BMW and I bought a Mazda. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just a crappy way of going through life. I
think BMW in retirement.
I know. That's like, why would you plan for a lesser life than you have today? That just makes no sense to me. So I'm a big advocate of spending planning versus budgeting. So that's one of the concepts I teach. Spending planning is, it's effectively what we do as business owners. You plan out a 12-month period of time. You plan out what you're going to spend your money on instead of the budgeting process, which is, okay, at the end of the month, I've spent this money on this and everything else, and everything's in the past and it's not forward looking. So one of the things I advocate is be forward looking. You know what? If you screwed up last month, that's fine, whatever. Let's focus on what it is going forward and let's have a plan. You have money coming in. There should be places that money goes. You should have a pretty good estimate of what you're going to spend every month. And if you do that, you're going to be successful getting yourself, you'll first off have a very close clue of, well, what's it going to take for me to exit from my current situation? What do I need to replace from an income standpoint to be able to be successful?
So it's really a freedom day is like when the cash flow takes over and you have more choices.
Absolutely. We're big cash flow people. Yeah.
So we're going to go forward with that concept. No more retirement talk.
Nope.
Because people don't really, they may leave their job, but they're not retiring from life.
No.
So I love it, Jeff. I think it's
I look at it, the things I do today, I own a wealth management practice. I love what I do. I love what I do. I will keep doing this till the day I die, not because I have to, but because I absolutely love what I do. And and the cool part is I make money doing it. My co-working spaces, that's something that at some point I will sell. And I own an education company that basically focuses on teaching entrepreneurs. Stuff that I absolutely love, I will continue to do for as long as I can breathe air. So I'll be that 98-year-old guy that is still talking about digital marketing or whatever is the cool thing at that time to talk about.
That's great. So tell all our listeners any other uniquenesses about your practice that you think set you guys apart besides and the business consulting and the co-working. You got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, well, those are all separate businesses, but yeah, we, the wealth management firm, BKA Wealth basically has three arms of the company. So, and it's evolved over the years because we just needed to be able to serve our clientele, and we wanted to be able to help them across a lot of areas. Mm-hmm. So, we have a traditional wealth management practice. We're a Dave Ramsey advisor, so we use the Dave Ramsey principles. We help individuals, but we also have amazing amount of business owners that come to us through that program. So we're just ideally suited to take those people in. We tend to win that business always because we're the only people that really do what we do. We've got the consulting arm, so that's basically business valuation and exit planning. And then we have a benefits arm, which is really the newest part of our company. And it combined a lot of things together that we were doing. But we do everything from group healthcare to, voluntary benefits. We do retirement plans, qualified retirement plans. And then what we're real experts in is non-qualified planning. So, we do a lot of work with executive comp, structuring, the ability for companies to retain key employees, structuring exits for business owners. We use that executive comp sleeve of our business to actually structure exit deals for our owners and their key employees if they want to, buy the business out down the road.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Wow.
So and it's just evolved. Like I said, it was one of those things that we've kind of just evolved as we've gone. The whole, like the healthcare side of it came from the fact that the people that I was referring business to, it was literally the same person. I would just refer them to that had the same four products that they offered that were terrible. And we just decided we needed to find products that were better for smaller businesses that we worked with. And we found about 20 different products that we can work with that are not necessarily traditional healthcare, but we saved a ton of money for business owners in the healthcare space.
What else do you see on the horizon for any new ideas you're thinking about or looking at?
I see, I personally see there's a huge tidal wave coming. And anybody that's been in the business for a while, there's a huge tidal wave coming of people that are baby boomers that are, they're getting a little longer in the tooth, and that's not a bad thing. But the challenge the challenge is the baby boom is the largest generation in history. And it also has a unique statistic is that the number or the percentage of business owners in the baby boomer generation is double the nearest group behind them. And, the problem is my generation, which is Generation X, born 1967, that generation from 1965 to let's call it like 83 or 84, we're coming up right behind them. And we correspondingly are the smallest generation. So we're the logical buyers of these businesses. And the challenge is we also have the lowest, business owner rate of any generation.
Wow.
And we're the smallest generation. So, baby boomers, I think at this point are in a real pickle because there's a ton of them. They've got businesses that might be successful. And the problem is that generation also has not embraced technology as well. And, the generations that are following don't want to work 90 hours a week or 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week. They want to figure out a way to make it super hyper efficient. And they're not going to pay you for a business that they're going to sign on and have to work 70 or 80 hours a week. It's just not going to happen. And, what business owners have to do today, especially that baby boomer generation, if you have not sat down and done some good planning at this point, and you have not started to really pretty up your business before you want to sell it, what you don't want to get caught is with the 3Ds, death, disability, or divorce, and you're stuck and you've got to unload that business and nobody wants to buy it. So it becomes either you're going to close it down or you're going to sell it at a fire sale price.
Yeah. There's definitely some cultural differences in the time that you grew up, for sure. In America and where else, the different cartoons, different everything when you're a kid. So,
and the things that we laughed at offend people today. It's just how it is.
Oh, absolutely. Though things have changed a lot. And of course, whatever generation is coming up, their kids are going to be much smarter than they are too. That's just how it is, right?
Oh, it is. And I work with a whole group of kids that are in high school. I participate in an incubator program at one of the local high schools, and you always hear people, the next generation, and I'm like, but they're really smart. They're really driven and they really understand business if you teach them right. And there's a whole group of kids that I see. Maybe I just happen to be skewed a little bit, but I see a whole generation of kids that are really, really smart and really good. And, we're teaching them in their junior year of high school to actually start a business. And they, from their junior year, their whole junior year, they learn, the lean startup method of starting a business, ideating, creating a business. And by year end, they present to us on the board their business. And if they're selected there's usually 10 teams, 6 of them will get to move on to their senior year where they actually form the business and start making money.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. It's fascinating. Yeah. I like the fact that you recognize the differences in the generations and what kind of services that we have to provide as an industry. Yeah. So it's been really a pleasure to have you on, Jeff. Just looking at, all the different practices out there. Yours is a very unique one. And
I always say we're the weird one, but unique is one way of putting it too.
Yeah, but it's really great though. And so many of the financial advisors out there who look at, how am I going to grow? How am I going to be impactful? Maybe business consulting is a really useful tool. And we're going to talk to a lot of folks about that. And then hopefully we get to visit with you again on the Financial Advisor Workshop again in the future, Jeff.
I hope so. It was a pleasure getting to know you and sharing this stuff with your audience. Hopefully it gets somebody out there to go, maybe we can do something around that. And
about that?
Look at your skill sets. My business partner was he'd been valuing businesses for 28, 29 years, and it's like, well, why don't we just offer business valuation? Great
idea. Yeah. Well, and I believe firmly that we have some of the best people in America who've taken up the role of financial advisor, and you and your partner are among them. So congratulations on all your success. Thanks for your innovation. Thanks for your great ideas. And thanks for you being on the 4-Star Financial Advisors Workshop. And thanks to all our listeners to joining as well.
So I appreciate it. Thanks, my friend.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll be back with another fabulous interview with another fabulous financial advisor and their team.